Play at Novabet.
Hello and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Irish Angle on irishracing.com. Vincent is away on holidays in Spain for the next few weeks, so it's just me and Johnny this week to review Punchestown and the Guineas. Johnny, I suppose we'll start off with Punchestown. You were there for a couple of days. What did you make of the atmosphere on track first off?
I loved it, Emma. I was there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday was fairly quiet. Wednesday I was kind of on the periphery of it. Thursday I was in the heart of it. There's something about Punchestown, a lot of race meetings for me now are kind of drawn out, and the festivals are obviously a little bit different to that, but there's still something about Punchestown, the ease of just getting around, the ease of getting food and drink, and the ease of meeting people. Took a selfie with Paul Nichols at that little bar area beside the parade ring. I was really looking forward to going to it. It's kind of like a canopy like you see at a music festival, and had the chats with him. I was slagging him about Caldwell Potter and stuff like that. He didn't stay with me very long, actually.
I was going to say, how did that go down? Yeah.
To be fair to him, he was like, we were actually mad keen to run him, and he had a bit of a setback, whatever, but he's all good. But I loved it. I have to say, I loved it. The race was fantastic. The town end battle against Jack Kennedy, and I loved Punchestown. The fact that the weather was favourable, and there was so much going on throughout the week, and everyone I spoke to seemed to be really enjoying it. But it took, I was there on the Thursday. That was my last day, and I'd say it was, what day is today? I'm only coming around now. Today's Tuesday, so good fun was that.
Yeah, always a good crack in Punchestown, and I suppose kind of like you mentioned there, good spread of winners over the week. I suppose that's kind of the nature of the racing. There's so many handicaps and different types of races, but even on the first day we kind of saw it with the grade ones, like you had Mystical Power, Willie obviously, Splan's Tower, and then Banbridge, so a good spread. I suppose Splan's Tower, I wasn't there on the Tuesday now, but I'd say he got some reception. It was great to see Jimmy Mangan back with kind of a top class performer again.
Yeah, like I kind of like to labour the point a bit on this, like, and I was saying this, I was probably saying it to you last week, and I was saying to people at Punchestown, like, ultimately, if we're going to give out about the situation of one or two trainers or three trainers or whatever it is dominating, this is all down to owners. Simple as that. I was talking to Conor O'Dwyer about having battled it out running for JP McManus, and JP McManus, one thing you'll say about JP McManus is how he spreads his horse around, and Jimmy Mangan, this is really worth more to racing in some respects than sort of Willie having like 5 grade 1 horses, because it's just the storylines around it, and also the fact that it's a kind of a veteran trainer who hasn't had a good horse in a while, who's now had 2 grade 1 winners with him as a novice, stepping him up in trip as well, and training him really, really well this season, beating Willie Mullins on a couple of occasions. And I think Willie would really relish the challenge of taking on other trainers like this week in, week out as well. And Mystical Power's performance for me, I fancy Mystical Power, but like you were wondering, I mean, he was just about able to go the gallop, and I'm wondering what trip this horse wants, because I think he could actually, just the way he won that race, I'd be crying out to try him out over further. And I thought it was a really, really nice performance. It was a cracking first day's racing, and you mentioned Banbridge as well. Brilliant ride by JJ Slevin, and a real sign that the ground was kind of turning good at that stage in the week.
Yeah, for sure. I suppose Banbridge probably was a little bit underestimated, but he made it all on. I suppose what a year for JJ as well. Like, he won obviously the Gold Cup on the Wednesday, the big grade 1 on the Tuesday, and Irish National. And I thought it was kind of nice the way Martin Brazel spoke afterwards. We're going to fast or slow now on Wednesday, I suppose. He spoke of the Gold Cup. He was asked kind of straight away after, the disappointment, the mishap there so early on. But very nice words, kind of from a very softly spoken man, I suppose. Martin Brazel doesn't say a whole pile, but whatever he says is kind of worth listening to, I think. And I was in the parade ring seeing him come back in, and nearly everyone there was congratulating him. It was brilliant to see it. And fast or slow, I suppose, like, at Punchestown, is he just a better horse, do you think, or is it has he just not got the rubber green, I suppose, in the Gold Cup this year?
Yeah, like to me, I backed him at Cheltenham last year, and he went around the place like a duck, took to like a duck to water. He was just beaten by Corrick Rambler. He's been trained really, really well by Martin Brazel. I spoke to his son David, who's very much a chip off the old block at Sligo Sunday, did a winner again on the flat, and Ronan Whelan, who had ridden that winner, just talking about the operation and how good they are. And it's a lovely, you need different operations, like, and Martin is as you say, he's not the type to court an owner, but like, he takes it slowly with horses. I mean, this horse, when he made his Irish debut, I don't think they genuinely believe what they had in their hands quite at that time. But the way he's been trained, being honest, I fancied Fast or Slow because I just felt Galopin Deschamps, it'd be amazing if he could produce his best again. And for me, he didn't. So that's one
Mm.
of the aspects of Fast or Slow's win. I don't think he got Galopin Deschamps on a Galopin Deschamps 10 out of 10 day. But for me, Galopin Deschamps, I'd rarely see a horse emerge with as much credit in defeat because he was going nowhere but half a mile out and still battled to finish on second. And fair play to Hewitt as well for Shark. Like, it was just a fantastic race. I have to say I loved watching it as well. The way that tactically how it worked out, and brilliant race. And as you say, just same as with Jimmy Mangan and Martin Brassel have a great one. This is what jumps racing should be all about. And as I say, that's entirely down to the owners. And if you talk to Sean Mulryan and Bernie, like, would they mind having a horse with Martin Brassel? Absolutely not.
I don't think anyone would mind having a horse or Martin Brazil. Like, when he gets the right, when he can produce as well as anyone. And there was kind of strong vibes that he might have won the two bumpers on the Thursday and Friday, and he got it right on Friday as well. But yeah, like, I think they're talking about targeting the King George. You'd imagine he'd be very hard to beat. Like, I thought the performance, it might have been, I thought maybe his best performance yet, Fast or Slow. Like, he was nearly keen in JJ's hands the whole way. He kind of he took the decision to go on early, and his jumping, I think, is probably his biggest asset. He very rarely makes a mistake. He takes lengths out of his rivals the whole time. I'd say if
Well,
he goes for
on
a
that,
King
Emma,
George.
yeah, which this is why racing is so fascinating, because like you're thinking, he's going to have one aim at Galopin Deschamps, and he's going to like come with dead aim. But they were like basically beforehand. This lad is jumping so well, you're kind of upsetting him by not letting him on, and I love that aspect of the race as well.
Yeah, for sure. He kind of kept it simple. It was brilliant. You kind of have you excited for the John Durkin already at the start of next season.
Mm.
It's a pity the last time we'll see them, but it's a great little rivalry, and you kind of really enjoy it. But I suppose going on to Thursday then, Elite Tom caused a bit of an upset. Beat Gaelic Warrior. I think it was Elite Tom's fifth grade one. Like, he's probably a horse who maybe doesn't get the plaudits after being beaten by Gaelic Warrior a few times. You're kind of thinking maybe he's just kind of a B team grade one horse, I suppose, for Willie. But I think, like, his performance in Aintree and then this performance at Punchestown, it's very hard to pick holes in him now. Like, he's kind of putting his name on the big stage, isn't he?
Yeah, and I should say as well, fair play to John Ryan. Picked up over 6 grand for just running his horse here, and it was an enterprising bit of placement, because like the race obviously fell apart. Guaranteed prize money, and Mount Frisco finished fourth. I was disappointed with Gaelic Warrior, to be honest. Emma, like, this is 2 runs out of 3 now where he's been well below his best. Like, he absolutely hammered the winner here at Limerick in that famous race, but he beat him really well. And I don't know, maybe he's had a hard enough season, but for me it was a flat performance. I've been saying I think this horse really would be better over further. Like, he was extraordinarily good over 3 miles Punchestown last year. And I'd be inclined to think that he should be stepped up and tripped, but I just felt it was disappointing. Letty Tom probably doesn't get the credit he deserves, and Willie was saying how well he's kind of I suppose improved in terms of even his walking and the way he's been racing over the season. And he's gone, like, he's had a hard season. He's really had a hard 2024. He let Tom. And Danny seems to get on really well with him, whatever it is. But I was disappointed with Gaelic Warrior.
Yeah, he's kind of in and out. He's kind of a hard one to trust, but like, I mean, that performance in the Arkle, like you said, going out and trip. So all options are kind of open for him next year. He could be a champion chase or a Gold Cup horse. So at the start of this year, he was a Stairs hurdler horse. Like, so where he goes next, like, it's kind of, yeah, I kind of agree. Look, I think you have to give it to Tom Peace plaudits, but Gaelic Warrior, there's definitely question marks over that performance. But I suppose same day, Tiupu gave Jack Kennedy what was at the time a massive winner in the Jockey's title race. Look, I think it's a great partnership, and Tiupu definitely looks like he could be really hard to beat in years to come in this staying hurdle division. And, nice to see Jackie had a quiet week up to then, I suppose, getting that grade one winner on the board, and was a massive boost from at the time, I suppose.
It was a massive boost, and I said I felt he needed Tiopo needed to win this race for Jack to win the title. Didn't quite work out like that, but I was in Downpatrick. I can kind of say this now. I was in Downpatrick the Friday before Punchestown, and the first person who mentioned Jack said, like, Jack is really struggling here. Like, he's you can see from that he'd a fall at Bellewstown, and he was struggling. He's 7 rides that day, and he won on the first of them. And he went 7 clear, I think, that night. But he was definitely going through the pain barrier last week. And I think it's safe to say at another point of the season, he might have opted kind of to take a week or two off. But he was tantalizingly close. And Tiopo was was brilliant on the day. But I really was delighted for Jack throughout the week that he got there after all the injuries he's had. This was a great performance for me, to be honest. Like, Buddy won in fourth, ran his race, and you had solid horse in behind him. And Barry Geraghty said before the festival to me, we were doing a preview, and he said, I don't feel this horse is ground reliant. And I was taking on horses on Thursday because of the ground, and generally I was getting it fairly right. But this one, I wasn't confident he was as good in the ground. And in this race, he kind of was. And he's a smashing horse.
Yeah, kind of staying on Jack there for a minute, like you kind of mentioned the pain barrier. Like you saw, he was getting interviewed, I think, on Saturday by RT, and he had the boot on. Like he must have been really pushing himself to get there. Like you said, I'd say if it was in the middle of the summer, he probably would have taken a few weeks off, and I wouldn't be surprised if he takes a few weeks off now. And I thought the interview was very interesting because I suppose Gordon Elliott is a man who probably doesn't show his emotions too much, but I think even he was getting a little bit emotional seeing Jack's family being brought in. And I suppose Gordon has kind of tutored Jack since he was kind of maybe, I think they were saying 12 or 13. He came into the yard and became a big part of it then. Like, you don't see Gordon getting emotional too often. I'd say it meant an awful lot to everyone in the yard to see Jack getting crowned.
Jesus, yeah, like, and Gordon had earmarked this fella. It was kind of like I suppose Ronaldo coming over from his little island to was in whatever age he was when he joined Man United. It was like earmarking a guy that, okay, he's going to be very good. But Jack Rhodes, I'll always remember he rode Tagliatelle. I think it was in the Tipperary Cup, and whatever race it was, he was 16 years of age in his first ride, and the horse was sent off well back favourite. I was like, this jockey's never ridden in a professional race before, and there's that much confidence. I think Tagliatelle was actually beaten in the same race, but I always say that to Gordon. Do you remember the horse that he started off and he was 16 years of age? It's hard to believe now. That's nearly 10 years ago. Jack is riding 10 or so years since he's 25. But I have to say as well, I'd say Paddy has been a massive influence to him. And when I would meet Jack out in Cheltenham in the early days or that, and you can see how he's really matured into a man since. But Paddy was always there guiding him. And I think he knew, like Paddy and David Clifford, I think he knew that his younger brother was a bit special. And this was phenomenal for me, the injuries that he's been through and just the humility of the man as well. And I've really enjoyed doing the odd interview with him the last couple of months. To be honest, never really thinking he'd win it. Even at Downpatrick, I wasn't that confident he'd win it. And I'm thoroughly delighted for him. He's an absolute gentleman, and he's a brilliant ambassador for racing. And we're now only getting to see, I think, how good Jack Kennedy is. And as I said to him, I texted him after he won it, and I said, I hope you're only getting going, and I mean that.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to believe he is only 25. Like, did he win a Gold Cup at 21? And to drive on now, like I think it's his first time ever really being able to have a proper go at it. Yeah, it's brilliant to see. I think even the staunchest Paul Townend fans were happy enough to see Jack win it because, it's well deserved. He's been pushing it for so long. But we'll have a look at Saturday's race. Was it Saturday's race? Yeah, Friday. Stateman and Ballyburn on the Friday. Stateman, look, I think I was probably begrudging Irish Point going for this 2 mile division, but in fairness, I think he's been put up some really big performances, and he's kind of given Stateman a test maybe he hasn't had in a while. Maybe slightly workman-like by Stateman, but he's just that kind of horse, isn't he? He doesn't do what he doesn't need to, I suppose. He just does enough.
Yeah, I was watching on the couch, kind of in some shape of recovery on the Friday, and watching the angle that they had in the telly of it was I'm not generally a fan of the camera that kind of follows them, but in this race when you have a small field, it is kind of fascinating to see close up, like, what's Jack going to do here, to try to do something to this horse. But I had been half tipping Sir Gerhard to run into the places, right? Because I thought back and trip and all of that. He's rated 152. He's 6 pounds less than Irish Point. It's not a massive amount. And Danny Mullins rode Sir Gerhard behind the two of them. Everything was going grand, and I think it's a testament to how good the front two are. Like Sir Gerhard, maybe it was an off day, but he ended up really, really tired trying to, and he was given every chance to just be cajoled into the race. And he was legless at the end. He even lost second. I was looking, I was like, is Irish Point's going a strong enough gallop here. Visually, to me, he was anyway. And Stateman was still able to master him. And Irish Point's a seriously good horse, because for me, if again you're looking at his run at Leopardstown, he probably wants 3 miles, or certainly 2.5. And Robcour have had some really, really good success in recent years of what they're buying. But like Stateman was very good. Again, he's the most straightforward horse I think I've ever seen at a Grade 1 level. But Irish Point emerged massively with credit and defeat.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned Robcour, like you said, like plenty of big owners spend a lot of money, but in fairness, they're spending their money really, really well. They've found a fair few Grade 1 performers, and I suppose a relatively short time of kind of being at the top end of the sport, spending a lot of money in it. And you kind of wish them more success as it goes on, because it's nice to see, and they do spread their horses a bit between different owners, kind of like you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I think, look, Irish Point, it'll be interesting to see what they do with him next year. I suppose will they continue with this 2 mile hurdling? I know they want to keep himself and Tiuku apart, I suppose, which makes sense, having kind of 2 top class horses in the same division. It's probably a bit counterproductive. If they can have him running in the good 2 mile races, it probably works well for them as well. But kind of talking about next year's champion hurdle picture, I suppose Willie had 2 which possibly could step into it next year. Ballyburn, I suppose we'll talk about first event on the same day statement on the Friday. Look, it probably wasn't his best performance, I would say, but he got the job done. And like, I think we were both at Willie's there a few weeks ago, and he spoke of Ballyburn being kind of a similar mold to maybe a Faugheen. He kind of kept options open, I suppose, after in his interview after the Punchestown race, kind of saying could go chasing, could go hurdling. What would you see him doing, or were you impressed by the performance?
I wasn't impressed really, to be honest. Even though he beat Predator's Goal by 13 lengths, he beat Mirror West by 19 lengths, so it wasn't that bad. But it was just he didn't kind of travel as well. He didn't look as unbeatable as he did maybe at Cheltenham. And turned into the straight, I was even coming to the last. I thought Jatara might put it up to him. I don't think he was at his best on the day. I wouldn't be reading too much into it. Again, he was so good at Cheltenham, it might have taken a bit out of him. As regards what I mean, with him now, I'd probably go novice chase next season, to be honest. But like, I prefer chasing to hurdling, and if that's what I would be doing. But Jatara, I felt, emerged with massive credit here, and I'd love to see her step up and trip for Jessie. We see these walk in the parks, how good they are when they can get a trip. She got the trip well. She hammered everything else. So I'd love to campaign her. If they're not going novice chasing over in the staying division next season, obviously can go for the mare's herd as well. But she ran really well. Ballyburn, for me, he still got the job done. I don't think he was just quite at his best at Punchestown.
Yeah, Jatara settled a bit better, I suppose. The good pace and a top class 2 mile kind of open race, not against the mares, but Ballyburn, I suppose, like, the question would be, I think, did Willie mention like doing a dawn run? Like, I mean, do you get too many horses who could possibly go for a champion hurdle and a Gold Cup? Ballyburn might be the one, but I suppose going on to Saturday's racing, Lossiemouth would probably be the more likely champion hurdle contender for them. She was just brilliant, I thought. Rachel kind of tried to make it a test of stamina, I suppose. Went off in front and tell me something, girl. She was only 3 lengths behind Lossiemouth and Cheltenham, but she got swallowed up. Lossiemouth, like, I suppose she maybe didn't jump as fluently. I think Paul maybe was trying to settle her a bit better, but she was just brilliant. Really couldn't fault her performance at all.
No, and again, like, what a lovely option to have. Where do you go with her? And did what she was entitled to do. But she, like, a safe state man's reliable. Like, Lossiemouth was beaten once in her career. For Willie Mullins at Leopardstown, when basically she was just unlucky. And other than that, she's just basically been bolting up every race. She's had 9 runs. She's still only just gone, 5 in January. Like, so it's she's really bulletproof tight. The other mare then, Cargese, continues to be keen. And you were there, as you say, Emma, that day, and Willie was like, geez, she must have some engine the way she pulled. If they can kind of get that aspect out for her, and she's only a juvenile hurdler at the end of the day, because Bottler Secret, for me, ran a blinder again, and found plenty for pressure, and her burgering better on the better ground, and she was still able to win very readily. I fancied Bottler Secret, I have to say. She is the Lossiemouth of her division, really, now. For all that she might not be that good, she's probably not far off if she can settle.
I thought that was a massive performance, Cargese, and it'd be interesting to see what they do, because she's a bit different to last time. I suppose she's a big kind of imposing type of mare. Maybe they might keep her hurdling next year. It's probably not easy to go chasing as a 4-year-old, but I just thought, kind of like you said, she looked like she was beaten a long way out, but she must have a massive engine. Like, if you saw when she went to the front, her ears pricked and she galloped away on. To do that, like, after being to Cheltenham and Aintree, was huge. But we'll go on to the Guineas then. I suppose City of Troy, the massive talking point here. He was kind of being hyped up as the Frankel with that big 2-year-old rating. What was your take on it? I suppose the issue, Aidan kind of gave the stalls as being the issue, and were you very disappointed with him?
Oh yeah, like, I mean, I didn't have a bet in the race. Kind of because it was like, I half fancied the third to run well each way, but it was like, you're looking at, if what you're hearing is true, the favourite will win. But not really a big fan of backing horses that haven't proved they've trained on, yes, at that sort of price either. So I watched the race, and talking to one of the hacks here today at Nav, and he was saying, I thought the race was over after 3 furlongs. Everything was going that well. For me, this performance stank of just not having trained on. I had no confidence in him in the Derby. It wasn't a performance like a Lang where you're like, okay, crying out for a step up and trip, plenty to take from this. He just completely bombed out. He wasn't the biggest physically as a 2-year-old. And we didn't have that. Like it wasn't if he were by Galileo, you'd be pretty much certain that he'd be training on and he'd make into at least a very good 3-year-old. With this matching, like there was still an element of, we don't have that many justifies over here to say this horse will definitely train on. And for me, he just hasn't trained on, or at least that's what it looks like now. And maybe Aidan will be able to say, okay, I have full faith in him. I remember Aidan saying to me last year, Bacchus Rodan to win the Derby after Guineas. He said absolutely 100%. And maybe that'll happen again, but for me, it's not going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't win another race, to be honest. But I would be surprised if he won the Derby.
Yeah, I suppose it was a massive training performance for Aidan to get Augusta Rodan back to the Derby, like to do it 2 years in a row would be some going.
Just one other thing on that, Ennis, as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting, and I know you're at Newmarket, but I read the Bruff Scott's report in the Times on Sunday, and it was funny. Like it was 90% about City of Troy, whereas Notable Speech won this race well, like, and he's the only horse I think that had ever won the Guineas, having run on the all-weather alone. And you should not take away from how good he was. I thought he was really, really good on the day.
He was brilliant, and he could be a real top-class miler. I suppose the St. James's Palace next. Would you rate him up there with some of the real good Guineas horses? Like I suppose he pulled away Redley first time on the grass. Like he was green, but geez, he was really, really impressive.
Like hat him for me. He 100% had trained on. He won the Craven. He was rated 112. He ran his race and he beat him by nearly 4 lengths. Redley. For me, he's well up there with the very good winners of the Guineas. You think of Frankel, but after that, absolutely 100%. I thought it was a very fair renewal of the race in terms of the form as well.
Yeah, I suppose disappointing City of Troy, but the winner, very good horse, has to give him the respect as well. We'll go on to the fillies race on the Sunday. In Malka, I think a first English classic for the Sylvester de Souza. He's making his comeback in England, and he might have a good chance at the jockey's title. Sorry, she was an impressive winner. I suppose a good run by Ylang in behind as well. But plenty of people are saying the French filly was probably the unlucky story of the race. The jockey sent her on plenty early, I thought. What was your take on the fillies race?
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree on that. It's not a straightforward race to ride in whatsoever, especially if you haven't that much experience of it. Whereas you can see how Ryan rode Lang to kind of finish her up in position. Done a bit of work with Sylvester Souza for Star Sports. Absolute gent. Delighted for him. And just to mention, like Donnacha O'Brien, so close to a classic winner. He's obviously lucky to have all these well-bred horses, but he wouldn't have that many. He's a very laid-back guy, very promising trainer, and brilliant run from her as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Port Fortuna where she'll go next. I think she's entered in the Commonwealth Cup and the Coronation. We might see the first 3 from the Guineas maybe going back for the Coronation at Ascot, but that'll be interesting to see. But we'll wrap it up there. I think we've kind of gone through all the major talking points. And I'll ask you for a horse to follow maybe from the week at Punchestown before we finish up.
I'll actually give you one that ran in Sligo, Whimsy. I thought she ran the feature race for Anthony McCann. I was having a bit of crack them beforehand. I thought she was desperately unlucky. I think Wayne Hassett, who's one of the most promising riders around, he rode the perfect race until this horse got into a little bit of trouble and basically should have won. She's beaten a short head, and Wayne will have this as a learning experience. Really, really promising kid, but she's thrown in wherever she goes next, I think.
Very good, yeah. Wayne is top class. I think he was really good last year as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see him kick on this year. But I'll probably give Gorgeous Tom. He beat Mr. Giff in that Louis Fitzgerald hurdle earlier in the week. I suppose off level weights, beating a horse who'd been running really well in Grade 1 races. Stepping up and trip well extra ground. He had some really solid maiden hurdle runs as well behind Slade Steele and something else he ran behind. Caldwell Potter as well. Actually, he ran behind him earlier in the year. I think he could be a nice chaser for Henry next year. He probably one to put in the tracker. But we'll wrap it up there. Thanks very much, Johnny, for all your contributions, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And we'll be back on Friday with a form scan with Mark Boylan to review the weekend action. But thanks for joining. Thanks for listening, and make sure and like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content.